Tonight, we will walk quietly into the late hours of a world that has long since gone to sleep. The Roman Empire, where rooms breathe with lamplight, and streets grow hushed beneath a sky strung with chilly stars. You and I will move carefully, in gentle steps, just enough to notice how people settled themselves for the night, how rooms were arranged, which little comforts were treasured, and which small inconveniences were simply accepted. And then we will drift with them into sleep. The door is half closed. The hinge does not quite sigh. You enter a modest room and feel the night cool collecting in its corners. On the low table rests a little oil lamp of clay, with a steady flame shaped like a single grain of wheat. Somewhere outside, a cartwheel ticks, and is gone. Let's stay here for a while, and look slowly, and breathe. The room and the bed. Look first at the bed. Not grand, not excessive, just a frame of wood, with splayed legs and a web of cords stretched beneath a stuffed mattress. The mattress is filled with straw, or chaff, or sometimes the softer husks from grain. If the house is wealthier, the filling might be feathers or wool batting, but for many, straw is simple and sufficient. It has a sound, like a gentle whisper when a body shifts its weight, a faint rustle that agrees with sleep. The bedding is modest, a blanket woven from wool. Not too thick, yet comforting. In summer, the blanket is folded at the foot, and the sleeper draws a light linen sheet. In winter, another covering might be added, a heavier wool, slightly scratchy, carrying the faint scent of lanolin, of hearth smoke, and of clean air dried on a line. The pillow, too, is a small sack of stuffing, straw, wool, or feathers, tucked and patted into a welcome shape. The bed is pushed against a wall to create a sense of steadiness. The sleeper's breath pools in that corner, and the wall cools the cheek. Gently, the frame can creak. A dry, respectful creak. The sound of wood that knows its work. The cords beneath the mattress have been tightened earlier in the day, a simple task. A household rhythm. Tight cords keep the mattress level, loose cords make a hammock of your night. Tonight they are firm. The bed waits, the oil lamp. Beside the bed is a lamp, terracotta or bronze, filled with olive oil. The wick made from twisted plant fiber. The flame is keen but small, it licks the air at a careful angle and draws steady breath through the wick. That is the sound you hear now, a tiny, persistent fizz, like an insect breathing. The lamp smells of olives warmed by the sun, of the press, of last year's harvest turned into light. Lamps are trimmed before sleep. The wick is pinched or nudged with a small pin. The edge of the flame skimmed to prevent soot. On the low table sits a shallow dish with a drop of water. For cooling fingertips, a practical luxury. Ordinary and satisfying. There might be a second lamp by the doorway, or a lantern with mica window panes to carry a little light without letting the draught extinguish it. But most nights, a single flame is enough to extinguish a lamp. A person may use a small cap, like a bronze thimble, slip it over the flame and the world returns to velvet. Or they simply pinch the wick, quickly, decisively, and then rub the fingers, smelling the burnt thread, feeling the night expand. Bathing and oil, preparing the body, before bed. Some will have visited a bath, perhaps earlier in the evening, when the day's work was done. Warm rooms, cool rooms, a plunge, and then the gentle scrape of oil from skin with a strigil, never harsh, just a sure, practiced gesture. The skin, lightly oiled again, holds the smell of herbs, a trace of myrtle, perhaps, or rosemary, or a simple olive note that is patient and clean. At home, a small bottle of scented oil sits near the bed, next to a folded cloth, a dab along the temple, a breath at the wrist. Nothing elaborate. The room now smells faintly of warmth and leaves. The body is quiet from the baths, muscles are pleased. The breath does not hurry. If water was scarce that day, a pitcher still rests by the door, with a basin to catch the pour. Someone rinses dust from their feet. The water cool and persuasive, generous to tired souls. The basin water is carried away. Or left to settle, the floor dries while voices grow softer and softer, clothes for sleeping. There is no universal pajama in this world. But there is comfort. Some sleep in tunics, simple, loose, with a girdle loosened or removed. Some in a softer undertunic of linen, cool in summer. In winter, a mantle or shawl lies at the foot of the bed, ready to draw up in the middle of the night. It has weight. And weight is a kindness against the unsettling movements of dreams. Children are swaddled in gentler ways, or tucked between elders for warmth. Infants in baskets near the bed, with a pinch of wool for a pillow, and a thread tied to the cradle so a drowsy parent can give a comforting jiggle without rising. In wealthier apartments, there may be a separate cubiculum, a sleeping room, arranged with screens, a curtain, and a second bed for a household member or guest. Privacy is simple, not absolute. Curtains whisper. Laughter from earlier has thinned into stillness. The city at night. Listen. The city is never entirely silent. Rome, or Carthage, or Ephesus, or a provincial town with its forum and arcades. They all hum softly after dark. Somewhere far off, a night watchman steps, then stops, then steps again. The vigil tend to their patrols, quiet, practiced, and the rhythm of their walking combs the street with a sameness that makes sleep easier. From a tavern, a door closes, a jar is set down, and clay touches stone. Vendors who worked late have at last stacked their baskets. A few call out the last of their wares in subdued voices, warm bread becoming cold bread, the price lowering as the stars gather. A woman in a window watches, folds her arms, and lets the night air cool her thoughts. Farther in the city, a cart returns empty and does not hurry, its wheels whisper. A dog settles in a doorway and groans in a way that is only comfort. If you listen longer, the city becomes a lullaby. Looms sleeping, kilns napping, a blacksmith's yard stunned into quiet. The loudness belongs to day, the soft talk belongs to night. You learn to trust both, household spirits and night customs. On a shelf near the hearth live the little household spirits, Lares and Penates, symbols of continuity, of the family's protection, of bread and salt and simple joys. A small wreath, a pinch of incense, perhaps a crumb of bread saved from supper. Remember to be grateful, even in small ways. Habit warms a house. Rituals tuck it in. Some families gently sweep the threshold before bed, to clear away the day's grit and invite a fresh beginning for tomorrow. The broom makes a barely audible hush on the floor. A jar lid is checked. The latch is fastened with a familiar scritch. It is late enough. First sleep. The bed receives its sleeper. The straw sighs. The lamp is shaded or left low. The eyes begin their slow retreat from the room, from the day, from the talk and the errands. The body rolls once to find the simplest position, shoulder, hip, knee, and then knows it. The breath lengthens. The mind enters that shoreline, where thoughts are stones under shallow water, and the current of sleep begins to cross them. This is the beginning of the first sleep, the notion that the night may be in two pieces, with a gentle island of wakefulness between them. The first sleep is long, milk-heavy, dreams scarce at first, then fuller. It is honest rest. The sleeper drifts. The room cools. The lamp gutters and is pinched. Darkness is not empty, it is thick with safety. Night sounds, like dreams, in the darkness. Small things keep company with the sleeper. A mouse debates a crumb. A linen curtain sways without purpose. The wind tests a shutter and, finding it latched, moves on. In the courtyard, water shifts in a jar and resumes stillness. The first dream arrives gently, like a new blanket laid over the mind, a dream about a road one has walked 100 times. Only smoother now, a friend's voice heard from far away but not needing to be louder, a vineyard in winter with its quiet vines. A hill that does not steepen. The first sleep is deep. The body repairs itself, the day's dust falls away, the breath climbs and descends a small mountain. And the mountain is very patient, waking in the middle, the watch between sleeps. Then, after some hours, the sleeper returns to the surface. The eyes open to a darkness that is gentle, not alarming. This is the nocturnal watch, the little island of wakefulness. The mind is smooth and unhurried, there is no schedule in this hour. No obligation. The sleeper may turn the pillow, take a sip of water, or rise quietly, if they share the room. They step without haste, brushing the cold floor with calm feet. The lamp is lit again for a short span, just enough fire to shape the room out of shadow. Perhaps there is a cup of watered wine to moisten the mouth, perhaps a scrap of yesterday's bread. Some will offer a small prayer, some will sit on the edge of the bed and listen to the outside, counting their breath with the city's breath. A mother checks a child's blanket. An old man rubs oil into a creaky knee, then sighs in relief. A young scribe reaches for a tablet and stylus to jot a line, a shopping reminder. A small thought that arrived like a bird and may fly away. The hour is unclaimed, it belongs to the sleeper. Quiet talk, if any, is slow and almost not speech at all, more a sharing of warmth than of words, perfume, night air, and small comforts. If the night is warm, a window is opened. A thread of cooler air slides into the room. It smells of damp stone and the faintest trace of basil or cypress from a neighbor's garden. The sleeper lifts their hair from the neck, feeling the soft relief. A drop of scented oil, just a breath behind the ear, tames a stubborn headache. A cool cloth pressed to the forehead tells the body that everything is friendly. In winter, the brazier is checked. Embers glow like tiny fruits. A pinch of ash, a nudge of charcoal, a hint of smoke. The room brightens by a color that is not exactly light. Hands are warmed, the blanket tightened, and the room returns itself to rest. Second sleep. The second sleep begins without ambition. It is easier, looser, and often more adorned with dreams. The mind, having released chatter, can wander in polite gardens. Dreams might be domestic, setting a table that never ends, or walking a colonnade with someone whose name one does not need to recall, or finding a seat on a ferry that moves so slowly it is practically still. If morning tasks hover, they do not bite. The second sleep reassures the body that it can do tomorrow, just as it did today. If the sleeper wakes once more, they will not be surprised. The night has room for many little visits to the surface. Each time, the pillow is turned, the blanket is arranged, the face relaxes. Apartments and insulae, in city blocks. Tall apartment houses, insulae, hold many families sleeping at once. The sounds of sleepers stack lightly. On one floor, a young couple whisper, on the next, a grandmother snores softly, above them. Someone coughs, then settles. Through the walls, a faint murmur of lullabies remains where a baby at last surrendered to slumber. A ladder creaks as someone climbs up to check a roof jar, then the sound stops, replaced by the wide, convincing silence that follows duties done. Even here, in a place of many lives, rest grows. The narrow courtyard trades daytime shouts for the fragile music of a small fountain. A cat, claiming ownership of a sun-warmed stair, curls into the memory of the day's heat. The building itself seems to breathe, wood swells and relaxes. In this chorus of ordinary rest, your own breath finds one more layer of ease. Country night. Not every sleeper is in a city. Far from the forum, a farmhouse lies under a heavier darkness. The sky is fuller with stars. A straw-stuffed mattress sits on a frame that a grandfather built, and his hands show in every joint. The door is barred with a pleasing thunk. The animals in their pens quiet. Hooves stomping lazily once, twice, then calm. Grain sacks give the air a dry, warm smell. Here, there is less rumor of neighbors and more talk of weather, wind line, frost timing. The slow conversation between earth and season. The pillow is thinner, the blanket is thicker. In spring, a jar with wildflowers on a stool still holds a little scent. In autumn, Apples in a basket breathe out sweetness. The farmhouse sleeps in long sentences. The first sleep might carry straight through to dawn. And the second is a short addendum, just enough to make the morning friendly. Inns and travel, now and then. A traveller rests at an inn. On a road leading out from a city's gate. Marked by a weathered sign. The bed is less familiar, that is normal. The straw is new to your body will learn it. You hear strangers turning on their pallets. The friendly clank of a jug. A host murmuring with a guest. In the small courtyard. A donkey rustles its halter and sleeps on its feet. The night air is spiced with a stew that has been reduced for hours. And with smoke that you do not recognize. Yet it does no harm. The traveler folds their cloak for a pillow if the inn's pillow is not to their taste. Clothing becomes a blanket. Boots are placed side by side. Facing the door. A coin sits under the pillow so it will not be forgotten. The traveler counts their breaths. Each one a milestone, then the inn itself. Expert in hosting weariness. Shows how to sleep in an unfamiliar place. Rank and comfort. There are grand houses too, villas with bedchambers that open onto columns and gardens. In these, the mattresses are softer. The pillows more obedient. Curtains are thick and swing slowly when the night opens a door. Perfume is more present, violets. Perhaps. Or a resinous sweetness, and lamps are bronze with clever handles shaped like the heads of animals. But sleep, even here, is not so different. The bed accepts a body. The flame diminishes. The night returns the same gift it gives to the poorest room, the release of the day. And the promise of a morning. Weather and seasons. Summer nights are light and muffled. As if wrapped in linen. Bodies take longer to slow, the room breathes with the window open. And a mosaic on the wall feels almost warm to the touch. Winter nights are crisp, breath hangs a little in the air, the blanket is loved for its weight. Autumn is the storyteller, night lengthening with the sound of grain stored and grapes pressed. Spring is restless and kind, the night wakes once or twice to the patter of rain on roof tiles. And the sleeper listens without effort. In every season, sleep shapes itself around the weather. A thin cloth added. A window shuttered. A second pillow borrowed. Nothing elaborate. Just careful attention paid to small comforts. Smells of night. Every place has its night smell. In coastal towns, salt and damp ropes. And the friendly rot of seaweed that insists on returning every tide. In mountain towns, clean stone cooling. And the hush of pines. In inland cities, clay, bread, and dust that noticed the moon. The nose, free from the day's crowding, pays attention for a while, and then stops. Satisfied, quiet fears, tamed gently. Night sometimes brings small worries that nibble, nothing dramatic. Just lists. Or small debts. Or a door that must be repaired. People have their ways. Some keep a smooth pebble near the bed and turn it in their fingers, giving their thoughts to the stone. Some recite a line they learned as a child, soft and steady. Some draw a circle on the mattress with their finger and imagine the worry stays within it. The methods are plain, time-tested, and boring in the best sense. Boredom is a bridge to sleep. Pets and creatures. A sleepy dog thumps its tail twice and surrenders. A cat, having completed its patrol against nothing in particular, folds itself and purrs faintly. In certain regions, a gecko ticks from a wall. These are ordinary guardians, the union of small domestic lives making a net across the dark, catching nothing except stray loneliness, which they dispatch quietly. Midnight bread and street vendors. Imagine very early morning, when a baker wakes before others. A nighttime batch begins in a small oven, the air out there fattens with yeast. But here inside the room the smell is a distant rumor. A few vendors pass, soft-voiced. Below the window, water for sale. A length of cloth. A small repair offered for a lamp. Their calls are whispers compared to daytime. The city turns over in its sleep and does not quite wake. Children and elders. Children go down fast and wake fast. Night is a short river for them. Elders lie down slowly and wake more often. But their rituals are superior, they know every fold of the blanket by heart. And their hands are expert at smoothing creases. They sit for a few minutes at the island between first and second sleep. They rub a temple, speak a name, and find that this is enough. Lamps guttering, coals settling, back at the bedside table. The lamp lowers its voice. Oil gathers in the wick's shadow. The last inch of flame arrows up, then bows down. A fingertip touches the cap to it. Darkness becomes whole. And your ears open to the comically large sound that silence often is. Coals in the brazier release a soft cluck. The night adjusts itself like a cloak on your shoulders. Gods of sleep and dream. Some think of sleep as a gentle god, somnus, moving on owl-quiet wings. Others imagine a gate through which dreams pass, some from horn, some from ivory, and prefer to receive the kind that reflect truth only in softened shapes. Most people do not attempt to interpret too carefully, they accept dreams as weather. A good dream is a soft rain, a strange dream is a fog that the morning will disperse. Beds shared and separate, many beds are shared. Bodies do ordinary negotiations with blankets. A knee wanders and is forgiven. A shoulder becomes a pillow for a moment and then moves away again. In other rooms, a person sleeps alone. And the bed is a small country with one citizen. That citizen hears the whole national anthem of night and approves. Linen and wool, the textures matter more than the colors. Linen, cool and dry. Wool, warm and loyal. A rough edge on a blanket is folded under. Because comfort is a skill and skills are learned. The sleeper needs the pillow to make a hollow. The hollow is the shape of their face and their worries fit nowhere in it. The night respects such small arts. The earliest light, it happens slowly, the room begins to lift without any lamp. The thin seam at the shutter brightens by the width of a thread. A bird that is common and therefore beloved makes a modest sound. The sleeper does not have to rise yet, dawn is only thinking about the day. The second sleep flattens its final curve. And breath becomes the kind you take when growing curious again, waking and stretching. The wakefulness that belongs to morning arrives like a cup of water poured into a dry bowl. A stretch. The good ache of a body that has forgiven you for yesterday. Feet find sandals. A blanket is folded and set aside, the bed is made. Not perfectly, but respectfully. A window opens. Fresh air moves through the room, carrying the bright, ordinary invitation to begin. Closing. We have seen how beds were stuffed and lamps were trimmed. We have heard the slow city and the slower countryside. We have visited the baths in our imagination and smoothed oil upon our temples. We have sat with the hour between sleeps. And we have recognized it as a friend. We have watched darkness do its work, gently and without spectacle. We have watched morning return that kindness, for tonight. Return to your own bed. Or to any bed that is yours for now. Let straw and linen, memory and blankness, first sleep and second sleep, do exactly as they have always done. The door is easy to close, the night is patient. If you wake, you will know what to do. If you dream, you will travel and return. If you listen, you will only hear the sound of resting. Lay your head down. Breathe, turning back the night, a quiet return. We return to that soft room. To straw that remembers a shoulder. To linen that forgives every fold. The day is not urgent, the night lingers at the edges like warm breath on glass. We will walk again through Roman sleep, but more slowly. And into corners we have not yet visited. The cubiculum, small architecture of rest. The sleeping room, cubiculum, is rarely large. Quiet is easier to keep in smaller places. A chest at the foot of the bed. A stool that doubles as a night table. A niche for a lamp. Walls may carry a simple paint, ochre, red, a pale green, and a border of pattern that doesn't insist on being seen. The floor can be packed earth, or tile, or a mosaic whose geometry continues even when no one looks. A curtain does much of the work of a door. It moves in a breeze you might not otherwise notice, showing you how air draws an easy path through the room at night. air and warmth, houses learn to breathe. In summer, shutters open their narrow mouths to invite higher, cooler air. In winter, a brazier gives a shy ember glow. The sleepers know how to sit nearer to it for a moment before bed, letting warmth soak in as if it were another blanket worn on the inside. Then they go to the mattress while the heat still whispers in the bones. Linen, wool, and storage, sheets and blankets are folded like arguments that ended peacefully. A cedar sprig tucked into a chest keeps moths out of wool. Linen smells honest when dried in a courtyard. In the evening it carries a faint mineral sweetness the way stone does after rain. A house that treats its fabrics kindly sleeps better, because everything that touches the skin has learned not to startle it. Lamps and candles, oil lamps rule the night. But sometimes there is a candle. It is tallow, or beeswax in wealthier rooms. A candle gives a different kind of light, warmer, taller, a little more like a companion. But it demands more watchfulness. Lamps murmur, candles mutter. Both understand when to be put out. Regional nights. Not every Roman night is a city night. Along the Nile Delta, the damp in the air folds itself into linen, cool and careful. In the Levant, jasmine leans over walls and adds a spoonful of sweetness to the dark. In North Africa, stars come close enough to count with the hand. In Gaul and the Rhineland, winter nights are longer, and wool is grateful for its own weight. In every place, people aim for the same simple treaty, a bed that does not argue, a blanket that promises to stay, a lamp that goes out when asked. Soldiers' tents, a contubernarium, 8 soldiers to a tent, makes its own night. Bedrolls are unrolled on ground that has been kicked smoother, then lined with straw if a wagon had room. The tent canvas, taut and obedient, flinches only a little in wind. Each man knows where his sandals sit, ready in case the alarm is a true one. There is talk, but so little of it makes a claim. It is mostly the soft sarcasm of tiredness. One by one, faces angle towards sleep. The guard outside marks the hour, not with words, but with the pace of his feet. Shipboard sleep, on a merchant ship. The sea writes the lullaby. Hammocks are rare, most sleep on planks softened by cloaks, or on coils of rope that accept the shape of a hip just enough. The hull speaks, little knocks and a long shush, as though the ship were a big animal with an even bigger breath. A lantern is gimbaled to keep its flame upright. The salt cures everything into simplicity. Dreams on ships are planked straight, short, deep, and cut by duty. But when a watch ends, the next sleep begins immediately. Like a sentence that didn't need a conjunction, ends again. In another light, an inn that keeps late hours becomes a quiet city inside a small wall. Guests ferry their weariness across the courtyard to their pallets. The host knows which rooms hold lighter sleepers and gives them the corners far from clatter. There is a basin set in shadow for night water. A jug that does not creak. Sometimes a thread of conversation drifts from the kitchen, a recipe remembered. A cousin's news, then fades. The inn sleeps in layers that consent to be turned. Slumber of the household staff. In wealthier homes, those who serve also sleep, on pallets. Inside rooms. In the anteroom off the kitchen where the embers know to stay gentle. They sleep more briefly. But many times, sleep becomes a handful of coins rather than a single heavy purse. Still, even brief rest can be kind if the pillow is placed with care and if a friend who wakes earlier does not wake you too. Respect is a blanket without a seam. Lullabies and stories, a mother or father hums in the key of exhaustion. The song does not brag. It tells about round things, moons, baskets, wheels, because round things come back to where they began. Or it mentions animals that agree to go to sleep first. So a child can safely follow their example. The lamb folds its legs. The bird hides its head. The little dog has already snored twice. A story might be told about a road that ends at a door that opens to a bed. A child's eyes learn to weigh more than their questions. Little charms. Big sleep. Not a few people keep a small charm near the bed, a knotted cord. A bit of bronze shaped into a hand. A twig of laurel dried to the right kind of crispness. It is not a guarantee, it is a habit. Habits are bridges. When fingers find the charm in the dark, the body remembers the way across to sleep. Dreams without interpreters. Some believe in messages at night. Others simply accept that the mind tidies itself by telling stories to itself. Either way, dreams are less alarming when greeted like courteous visitors. You may sit, says the sleeper to the dream, but you do not get to rearrange the furniture. The dream is flattered and stays only as long as it should. Midnight remedies: a cup of tepid water, a pinch of crushed mint, a cloth warmed and pressed to a stubborn belly, oil rubbed into a wrist where the pulse cheered too loudly all day. These are ordinary answers to ordinary discomforts. The goal is not to conquer the night, it is to let it resume. Noise that teaches quiet. Every home has a night textbook, the roof's tiny expansions, the hinge that is older than the oldest child, the neighbor's steps known by their reluctance. Over time, these noises become the frame around silence. They don't interrupt, they make the quiet legible. The way a frame makes a painting easier to look at. Festivals and gentle late hours. On some nights, the city keeps company with itself longer. A festival walks home slowly. Torches bob. Music from a distance wears soft shoes. The door curtains learn to be patient, they will close soon. People who do not attend the festival still benefit from it. The city hums with a benevolence that is wide and mild. Sleep arrives a little later, but it does not mind. Winter beds. Cold is not the enemy, it is simply a more serious negotiator. Straw is fluffed and increased, blankets are layered with a small shift of weight between them so that no seam meets another. A heated stone wrapped in cloth carries the idea of warmth to the toes. Breath makes a little cloud that confesses itself, then disappears like a polite secret. Summer beds, in heat. Beds become rafts on a slow river. Linen draws sweat and return the sky. Sleep becomes shallow and friendly, like wading. Windows are brave, shutters learn the trick of privacy without refusing air. The city is different in heat, even its cats argue less. Everyone forgives everyone their restless limbs, naps and the meridiatio. Midday rest has a distinct flavor. The room is brighter than night sleep would prefer. But the body closes its book anyway. A cloak becomes a shade over eyes. A bench says it will serve as a bed this time. Just this once. And then does it again tomorrow. A short sleep learns to be efficient, down fast, up soft. No questions. The afternoon receives the sleeper back improved. Like a garment beaten clean on flat stone. Illness and the convalescent bed. When someone is ill, the bed becomes a small province where different rules apply. Sheets are changed more often. The lamp learns to be kinder, and to be lit at odd hours. A broth is kept warm nearby. Patient as a friend waiting in a doorway. The sick dreamed more and are forgiven for it. Their dreams are simply the wind rearranging the tall grass of fever. The bed's job expands from comfort to courage. But the method is the same: weight, warmth, steadiness. Old age and night. Elders know the bargains the night offers. They take them. A chair near the bed is used in the dark without complaint. The second sleep is sometimes smaller than the first. Waking is visited like a neighbor, briefly, kindly, and then left. A hand on a wall steadying a step leaves no mark. But the wall remembers and is proud. Poverty's pockets of peace. Not every bed is comfortable, not every house can own a bed. Yet pallets on floors, straw in sacks. Even cloaks folded with care can do night's work. A cup wedged to stop a draft. Sand shaken from a blanket. A corner chosen because it forgives noise. Sleep respects effort. Where it is welcomed thoughtfully, it comes. Wealth's quiet luxury, and in houses where money is another blanket. Luxury does not always mean better sleep, but it can. Feathers aligned. Sheets that have been beaten until they agree to be gentle. A lattice that draws in garden air sifted through leaves. Yet even here, the mind falls asleep at the same speed as any mind, slowly at first. Then all at once. like a boat refusing, then accepting. The dock's rope, country winters, country kitchens, far from cities. A kitchen fire finishes its evening religion of embers. On a hook. A pot size. Boots are turned upside down to keep mice from trying them on. The big bed creaks obediently under familiar weight. Outside. Frost rehearses its speech on the water pail. Inside. Wool answers it with a counter-argument that wins. Watchman and the city's second sleep. The vigil share the city with the sleepers. Their feet draw straight lines through the night. They carry small lights that behave. They know which dogs bark and why, most of the time. For nothing at all. Which is a kind of good news. When a watchman passes beneath your window. It is like hearing your own pulse from the outside, steady, reassuring, and soon gone. Street vendors' last and first calls, late sellers soften the edge of their voices. Early bakers take it up again. Between them is a shallow, kind silence. Like the shallow part of a lake where people stand and talk without getting cold. A sleeper turns, admits the softness into a dream, and keeps it. The language of blankets. Blankets have grammar. To fold is to promise. To tuck is to reassure. To shake is to forgive. To lay a second blanket, weight upon weight, is to say, no one will blow you off your course tonight. The body understands this language without needing to learn it. The floor that helps. Floors can be kind, packed earth smoothed by years of sweeping. Or wood that has memorized the position of the bed and bears it gladly. In the middle of the night. Feet feel for that kindness. The path to the picture is short. Never cluttered. The way from thirst back to sleep well paved by habit. Children's middle of the night questions. A child asks, is it morning? The answer is a whisper, not yet. But the morning knows the way. The child asks, are you here? The answer is a hand laid on a small back, yes. Hands are the oldest language for reassurance, they make sense even in the dark. Letters. Lists. And the second watch, some keep a wax tablet near the bed. Night thoughts are light and tend to float away. A quick scratch of stylus ties them gently to the world until morning can decide. The tablet closes with a soft click. The lamp, after a brief return to work, accepts retirement again. Night and work. Bakers. Midwives. Guards. Ferrymen, their sleeps are braided with their work. Yet each finds, in the tangle, a length of quiet that is long enough. A midwife naps between pulses of need. And her naps are honest. A ferryman sleeps to the pace of water even when on land. And wakes with the same pace in his hands. Sleep is not less because it is divided, it is multiplied by intention, pests and patience. Sometimes a gnat claims the room. A hand makes a slow broom of the air and is forgiven for it. A wick is trimmed. A spray of rosemary might be bruised between fingers and placed in a small dish. The scent convinces the room to prefer quiet. A sheet pulled up over an ear teaches the gnat manners. Beds and bodies. Bodies know the order of operations, shoulder, then hip, then knees, then the long gentle surrender of the neck. The pillow learns a face and remembers it. The blanket learns which foot seeks air at which hour and makes a narrow door for it. A bed that has studied its sleeper for years becomes a simple genius. The house that sleeps, houses truly sleep. Hinges cease to dream of complaining. Doors take their own deep breaths within their frames. The roof tells a tiny story to the stars and receives, in exchange, a thin sheen of dew. The house, being satisfied, becomes softer to walk through, as if it had laid down rugs on its own, waking at the right size. The best waking is not too big. It does not surprise you with trumpets, it taps your shoulder like a friend who arrived exactly when you hoped. The body inventories itself and finds no deficit. The mind is smaller than the morning at first, then stretches to meet it. There is coffee in later centuries, here there is water and bread and sun and duty. All are enough. The bed made with kindness, a made bed is a future. Shake the sheet. Smooth the blanket. Align the pillow as if it were a small moon that deserves to be full. A room with a made bed has already decided. Once. To be calm. It will decide it again. Tonight, the night's advice, if the night were asked for advice. It would recommend the same few things: keep your paths clear, learn the hinge that squeaks and befriend it, treat your blanket like a partner and your pillow like a student, let small noises be less than you are, let small comforts be more. Put out the light when you mean to. Light it again when you must. This is enough. One more walk through the city, outside. The city delivers itself to dawn the way a careful baker delivers bread to a table, placed, not dropped. Stone releases the night's cool the way a harbor releases boats. The first shop shutter rises a hand's width. A broom meets a threshold and makes that soft shh that always sounds like again. Sleep has done its work everywhere. And everywhere is a little newer for it. Closing the extended night, we have visited rooms and tents, ships and farms, grand houses and places that made do. We have learned the languages of blankets, lamps, and familiar noises. We have sat with festivals at arm's length and old age at the bedside. We have practiced the island between first and second sleeps until it felt like a friend's kitchen, entered, used, and quietly left. Now the day is here. And it has manners. It will not shout you out of bed, it will just be here when you rise. Rest as long as you can. Rise as gently as you need. Tonight, the bed will remember you and you will remember it. And the treaty will be renewed, straw and linen, oil and ember. First sleep and second sleep. Morning that arrives without hurry, a quiet re-entry. We step back into the same patient night. Like returning to a library where the books remember which page you left open. The bed is the bookmark. The room exhales once and welcomes us. Villa bedchambers and garden air, in a countryside villa. A cubiculum may open toward a peristyle garden. At night, the fountain recites a short poem that it repeats for centuries. A lattice filters moonlight into little coins on the floor. Vines lean against the wall as if listening. Someone slides the screen half closed to borrow the cool but not the insects. The bed is higher. The straw cleaner. The blanket heavier without being stern. Sleep here smells like watered earth and cut fig wood. Apartment nights and practical wisdom, in tall insulae. Practical wisdom sleeps beside every tenant. A jug of water by the door. Sandals placed pointing out. A lamp on a high shelf away from drapes. A folded cloak within reach of the hand that knows where it will reach. A scrap of damp cloth lies ready for dust. The corridor creaks as if it were remembering everyone by name and checking that they are still here. Who shares with whom? Beds are agreements. Spouses share by custom, siblings by economy, friends by travel. A grandmother and a child share so both may sleep warmer. Even when a bed is solitary. A cat enrolls without paperwork. The blanket enlarges to include it. Timekeeping at night. Sundials sleep with you. Water clocks keep watch. At a bathhouse or a rich house. Eclipse address eyes. Water choosing to descend at a measured humility. In a guardhouse. The level is marked with soot. When it reaches the line. The watch changes. No bell. No trumpet. Just footsteps traded like polite obligations. The medicine basket. On a shelf, willow bark, mint, fennel seeds, a small bottle of vinegar, a bit of wool for a poultice, and a twist of honeycomb. None of it is dramatic, all of it is meant for little grievances that visit at night. Tight chest, sour stomach, a head too busy to be clever, a spoon, a sip, a breath. The body votes yes to bed again. Fire and the gentle precautions. Lamps behave because people teach them to. Wicks are trimmed. Lampstands are steady. Embers go to bed under a blanket of ash. The vigil carry hooks and buckets and the kind of patience that prevents stories. A neighbor checks a lintel once more with the back of a hand. The wooden thing that could have been a hazard remains simply wood. Festivals that end kindly, on Saturnalia nights. Or others with lights and laughter. Houses return to quiet in stages. A wreath leans on a nail. Dice sleep in a bowl. Songs evaporate from the air like mist. The bed, patient during joy, resumes its central job as if pleasure and rest were cousins. Dreams as couriers. Dreams arrive with small satchels, most are empty. Which is fine. They announce nothing and require no response. The best of them are like familiar streets with few people. The worst is only a lost sandal, morning finds the other one. Children who float into sleep. A child is set down, the room lowers its voice, the day drops its stones out of the child's pockets. Lashes way down. A thumb negotiates one last treaty and agrees to retire. Somewhere. A parent finishes a chore slower than usual because they are listening to silence and want it to keep happening. Laundry. Linen. And the day before night, sleep begins at the wash basin hours earlier. Linen rinsed, wrung, and snapped against the air, then dried on a line where the sun writes its invisible signature. The sheet brought in toward evening crackles slightly, then softens under palms. A bed made with such cloth offers sleep the way a table offers bread, plain generosity, borders and frontiers, on the Danube or the Euphrates. Forts keep company with the moon. A soldier finishes his watch by counting the last 30 footfalls. Inside the barracks, the straw is thinner and the snoring thicker. But the rhythm works. The fort dreams of geometry, straight roads, right angles, squares of men, and then stops dreaming because the day begins. Desert caravans and far nights. In deserts, night cold is another kind of friend. Traders fold cloaks into pillows and the stars lower themselves to a comprehensible distance. The animals stand like patient punctuation marks. Fire is strict and small. The sand stores every footstep until wind erases the diary. Sleep in the desert is brief but deep, a well with a rope that doesn't creak. Mountain passes, above timberline. Rocks keep their own counsel. A traveler sleeps with boots close and a cap closer. Wind tests the tent, then applauds its stitching. Morning will smell like stone and breakfast will be envy-proof, bread, a bit of cheese, and a promise to stop earlier tomorrow that will not be kept. Night reading in the friendly light. A wealthy reader or a scribe may prop a wax tablet or a papyrus roll near a lamp. The light as borders you must respect. Text outside the circle can wait until morning. Eyelids annotate the margin by closing. The lamp understands and dims the chapter without arguing. Domestic staff and hourly sleep. A nurse rises for a child's little cough and sits until the cough forgets itself. A cook covers tomorrow's dough so it has quiet opinions during the night. A doorkeeper listens to the door pretend to be important and humors it. Each returns to a folded pallet with the tenderness people reserve for small, competently completed tasks. Pets as night furniture. A dog returns to the same spot on the same rug, creating an indentation that is municipal property by now. A cat claims a windowsill ideal for becoming decorative. A goose in a farmyard proves that geese are excellent alarms and terrible sleepers. The family forgives it because forgiveness is a pillow that never flattens. The second sleep's favorite weather. Rain that bargains rather than lectures is perfect, steady, unambitious. The roof approves and does its job. The second sleep welcomes such company. Floats for a while. Then docks right where it planned. Courtyard houses and echoes. In a city courtyard, echoes become polite after sunset. Words that were sharp at noon return rounded. A jug set down makes a comfortable sound like a period at the end of a sentence. A broom writes the day's last paragraph and closes the book. Small repairs that wait for morning. Everyone sees the thing that needs fixing, the latch that pretends it might retire, the tile that refuses alignment. Night says, I saw it too, tell morning. Morning writes it down and performs appropriate ceremonies with cord, awl, or mortar. Sleep does not take messages, but it does store the envelope. Boats on rivers. Ferries at rope. River towns fall asleep to a ferry's rope rasping, sound of a slow violin played by water. The ferryman sleeps with that rhythm stuck pleasantly in his bones. He will wake exactly in time because people who cross rivers begin early. Household gods after midnight. The little shrine in the corner does not need attention. And yet someone gives it a glance out of habit. Which is another word for faith that has learned manners. A crumb and a thanks from earlier are still there, nothing more is required. Night accepts receipts at any hour. Winter's long corridor, long nights are not longer problems. They are hallways with more art on the walls, extra sleep. An extra waking to add wood. A longer dream about people you know doing absolutely nothing urgent. The corridor ends in the same door as summer, it just takes more steps to reach it. Heat and the invention of shade. In the hottest provinces, people invent shade with fabric and schedule. The bed is not a place, but a sequence. Doze, turn, rise to drink, cool feet at the basin, return with a damp cloth, fold it under the neck, doze again. The sequence works, that is all it has to do. Night work of bakers, close up. The bakery is an upside down day. Hands knead. The oven listens. Loaves take their first breaths as tiny cracks. The street smells like arithmetic that always adds up to morning. Bakers sleep in installments later. And their beds approve of such accounting. City gates and dawn's first errands. A gate creaks a new sentence into the air. Porters yawn with the authority of professionals. A mule shakes its harness into order. The few who were awake all night briefly share the world with the many who are just joining it. Both groups nod. A treaty between the patrol and the pillow. Old stories told softly. An elder tells a child a story without clear plot. The kind that reduces rather than raises pulse. A field that became bread. A wall that became shade. A stream that stayed a stream and mindfully avoided turning into a metaphor. The child learns that not every story needs a dragon, most need a bed. The physician's night call. A knock comes softly, a lamp wakes. A physician is fetched with sandals and a pouch. They speak smaller than usual, as if not to disturb the house where worry is already walking around. Broth. Reassurance. A single instruction. Sleep re-invited. The house thanks everyone by settling, when sleep refuses. Kind tactics. Count the breaths that begin within and end without. Name the objects in the room you could touch without moving. Think of 3 good smells and how they would sound if they were music. Return to breath. The bed. Seeing you attempt diplomacy. Offers terms, you sign them. Eyes closed, linen mending at dusk. A seam is tightened. A fray hemmed. Mending is future sleep insurance. The needle rests after, it has made a path that the blanket will follow obediently all winter. Rain on tile. Wind in masts. Different towns have different lullabies. Inland tiles volunteer a steady patter. Ports trade for rigging hum. Hill towns accept the long vowel of wind and instruct shutters to respond with consonants only occasionally. Lamps as clocks. Some judge time by how much oil is left. When the pool thins to a coin, I will rise. The flame does as asked, spending itself in measured generosity. If it gutters early, dawn is already close enough to finish the job. Courtesies between sleepers. Shared rooms practice quiet choreography. Turn slowly. Lift blanket like a page. Set jug down as if placing a child back into dreams. Good manners are the soft skills of the night. Everyone graduates. The pillow as archive. A pillow stores many decisions. Where to put the ear to ignore a drip. Which corner is best for bad days. How much height forgives the neck. In the morning it looks unremarkable, at night it is an accomplished librarian. A country fire's end note. Ashes invest their warmth into clay. A poker leans against the hearth like a tool that has just completed a decent life. Outside. Frost draws a map of nearby fields on the bucket slip. Inside. People leave the dream of fields to the fields themselves. The city's very first bird. A single bird is promoted to herald without a vote. It says one line and refuses encores. That is enough to thin the night. Another bird joins. Then 2. The air calendar flips the page. Last hour before light. The last dark hour is stable as a table. You could set anything on it and it would not tip. A plan. A memory. A thank you. Nothing at all. Most people choose the last option. And sleep makes its final dignified bow, morning rituals. Small and durable, fold blanket. Smooth sheet. Check lamp. Open shutter. Wash face. The sequence repeats in 1,000 houses because it works in 1,000 houses. Good sequences do not need invention. Only continuation. The door's first daylight, when the door opens. Daylight enters like someone who knows the room already. No introductions. Only familiarity. The night leaves without offense. Beds. Now empty. Promise to be brave all day and tender all evening. Markets waking. Sleep concluding. Stalls unfold. Scales find their balance. A vendor yawns and ties an apron with a loop that has become muscle memory. The bed releases its claim on the sleeper promises to return on time. Both keep their word. Closing the circle again, we have visited yet more rooms. More roads. More ways to make darkness friendly, clocks of water and oil. Blankets that speak grammar. Pillows that keep archives. Watchmen who count and bakers who reverse the day. Roman sleep, like any good craft, is plain and practiced. It asks for small care and gives large return. If you wake tonight, you know the path, lamp, water, breath. A blanket you have trained. A bed you have taught to remember you. If you dream, you know they are visitors. If you sleep straight through, you will have performed the most ordinary miracle, returning like tide. We come back as the tide does, without argument. The room we left is where we find it. A bed is a promise that kept itself overnight. We place one quiet breath after another and let the hours resume their gentle parade. Before the bed, the evening meal that prepares sleep. Supper is not only food, it is a negotiation with night. Bread answers olive. Olive answers cheese. Wine is taught to be water's friend. Too much salt remembers itself at midnight and demands a second drink. Families learn this and forgive themselves anyway. Dishes dry in a slant of lamplight, the last plate is put away like a final syllable. Small philosophy beside the pillow, some keep a saying at arm's reach. A stoic line about not owning what you cannot carry in your hands, a farmer's line about fields sleeping to grow, a grandmother's line about blankets learning manners. The line is repeated once, maybe twice, and then sleep accepts the compliment. Provincial quiet, Britain's damp. Syria's silk of air, in Britannia. Mist negotiates with stone all night long. The blanket feels heavier, but kindly so. In Syria, air moves like silk that forgot to be proud. The shutter opens a finger width and the stars hold still. Different provinces. Same destination, the mind set down where it can forget its name and still be safe. The carpenter's pallet. The carpenter stretches on planks he flattened in daylight. He knows which board sings, which knot tells a story. His pillow is a rolled cloak, his hands are splinter smooth from a lifetime of choosing good wood. Dream, a door that fits the frame the first time. Every time. Morning will oblige, the midwife's intervals. The midwife sleeps like a cat, ready. A knock might untie the night, a lamp might take its post. When she returns, her sleep is clean, no fret, no fuss, like washing a cup and setting it upside down to dry. Her bed respects this schedule, her pillow remembers where duty puts the ear. Traders on stone roads, a trader on the Vai counts milestones the way a child counts sheep. At an Mancio, way station, he lays out a thin mat and puts the purse under his neck as both pillow and promise. Outside, mules sigh in the grammar of animals, present, patient, plural. Dream, a market where every bargain is fair on the first try. Sleep and law, in Rome. Even sleep has a kind of law, custom more than code. Don't spill light. Don't hoard warmth. Don't wake a child unless the roof asks you to. Close courtyards with quiet. Let the neighbor's dog finish one sentence before you answer. The city observes, the night approves. Lamps, shapes, wicks, and little faults. Some lamps wear a dolphin on the handle, some keep a simple leaf. A new wick boasts then learns humility. An old wick begins too modestly and needs encouragement. The oil remembers the grove, the flame forgets it. Which is its job? The brickmaker's rest. He slept through thunder at noon for years, night holds no weapons against him. His pallet near the kiln is warm the way a baked loaf is warm in its memory. Dreams, stacks of bricks becoming arches. Arches turning into shadows that shade tired men at noon. He wakes rightly proud of simple geometry, courts and senators. Quiet and thick curtains, in tall houses of the powerful. Curtains pile luxury into silence. A senator's sleep is longer in winter, shorter in scandal. He learned long ago to leave speeches outside the cubiculum. Words do not do well after lamps are pinched. In the morning, rhetoric will rehearse itself. Tonight, wool is wiser, the weaver's night music, the loom's day song lingers in the bones. Threads humming at the edge of hearing. She oils her fingers, counts a line of weft in the mind, then lets it dissolve. Blanket over knees, temple touched with lavender, eyes persuaded shut. Morning will ask for colors, night asks for none. Courtyards, water and stars in conversation. A small pool returns the sky like a soft compliment. When wind crosses it, stars become commas. Someone walking late pauses to this punctuation, then goes on lighter. As if grammar had improved their sentence of a life, the island between sleeps. Explored again, when waking comes in the middle. It is a guest with quiet shoes. Water waits. A lamp's cap lies ready. Feet take 3 practiced steps and 1 vote in favor of returning. On the bed's edge, a small yawn is signed and sealed, the scribe's margins. A scribe dreams of margins, generous, forgiving, clean. On waking, he does not reach for the stylus, he reaches for breath. Words will stand straighter later because sleep printed them on softer paper. The fisher's dawn and the night that enables it. The fisher's bed, short as his patience for knots, still teaches him to rest. He hears water in his sleep, but not the alarms of day. When dawn agrees, he is already on his feet. Night, content with its share of the work, waves him out the door like a mother with a towel. Shoes beside the bed, sandals point outward, toward errands, toward thresholds. Children's tiny pairs look like punctuation marks for smaller sentences. Nap, play, fall, laugh, eat, nap again. A widow's sandals point inward one more night as she decides how the morning will begin. The bed tells her she may choose slowly. Sleep and weather omens. Crickets count. Roof tiles tick. In some regions, the bark of distant dogs predicts rain. In others, the silence predicts frost. The mind notes the omen and then forgets it, trusting morning to keep records. A colonnade of naps. Public buildings offer shade even to thoughts. A bench under a colonnade becomes an afternoon bed. A clerk folds the cloak beneath his neck and trains his dreams to keep one ear open for his name. They obey. Market sleep. A market is asleep before dawn. The way a stage is empty before a play. Stalls folded. Scales still. Carts leaned against themselves as if thinking. In that hush, the city rehearses being kind to itself. People in their beds find that kindness easy to join. The apothecary's shelves at night, jars that held daylight's sharp smells now rest. Myrrh, rue, thyme, pennyroyal. Corks learn to be good at their jobs. The apothecary, freed of requests and measurements, sleeps alongside recipes he could recite in winter storms without a lamp. Festival aftercare, after a long merry night. Floors are swept, wreaths unpinned, cups rinsed and upside down. Sleep that follows celebration is like the ocean after a storm, foam still present, but the swell now regular and polite. Bodies forgive feasts if blankets forgive bodies. They do. Sleep in the heat of cities. In summer, city air becomes a quilt of many houses. A roof sleeper counts constellations by thumb. A courtyard sleeper measures breeze by curtain sway. A ground floor sleeper declares loyalty to a slab of cool tile. All finish their counts and sleep anyway. The teacher's night notes. He reminds himself, mentally, to be gentler about letters with the shy child, to speak slower to the quick ones who mistake speed for understanding. This list dissolves as he names it. He wakes with the kindness intact and forgets he decided it at night. Which is the best kind of decision? The stonemason's ear. He hears the city like a wall hears pressure, release, tiny arguments of hinges. He has made stones obey curves and now asks only that his pillow obey the curve of his neck. It does. He dreams of arches that hold up air and wakes to make them. Ships at anchor. Sleep ashore. There is a town where sailors sleep ashore with one hand believing it still holds rope. In the morning, the hand admits the pillow was better than rope and negotiates for one more minute. The captain permits it with magnanimity, as captains do at dawn and never at noon. Mothers and lists of small things. Mothers keep a nighttime inventory, blanket, breath, quiet. They add thank you to the list and fall asleep on it. The list is never finished. That is its comfort, the city's shared dream. Sometimes whole cities share a theme in sleep: harvest, floods avoided, news hoped for, noise tamed. The shared dream leaves no proof. But morning walks differently when it has happened. You can tell by the way doors open, friendly air. First try, the door frame's blessing. Some touch a door frame before bed. Learned in childhood from someone now quiet. Wood keeps the print of such touch the way water keeps the memory of boats. The bed, knowing this, agrees to hold you more gently. Pilgrims and way shrines. A pilgrim sleeps by a small shrine off the road. Head on a bundle. Feet toward tomorrow. The shrine offers shade and the idea of protection, both workers advertised. Dream, arriving without hurry. Games of children in the morning after. Children wake first and fast. They tumble toward light like coins spilled from a purse. Night watches them go and smiles the kindest smile night knows. The one that admits this was all so they could do that. The city sighs and begins again. A last lamp closes its bright eye. Bread declares morning official. A mill turns politely. Beds, relieved of their assignment, cool and flatten and wait with the patience of old friends who know you will be back when the sun is done being impressive. Making the bed as civic duty. A made bed improves a city by a measure too small to see and too large to ignore. In one street, 50 beds are made and 50 streets away someone finds it easier to forgive a stranger. It is not magic, it is practice migrating. Knight's toolkit. Listed plainly: water, oil, wool, linen, wood, clay, straw, breath. These are the tools. They require no upgrades. They served emperors and laborers, children and elders, sailors and senators. They will serve you as well. What we keep, what we let go. We keep the habit of trimming wicks, of smoothing sheets, of noticing weather and letting it make small decisions for us. We let go of the day that tried too hard. We let go of names for a while. We let go of perfection. The bed prefers us this way. One last lamp. One last look. Set the lamp where it cannot argue with fabric. Pinch the wick. Watch the room invent its own light from darkness. Your eyes will volunteer to continue the story without a lamp. Accept the offer. Closing. With a boat to ordinary things, we have gone farther into the Roman night and found only ordinary things, ordinary in the way bread is ordinary, which is to say indispensable. Beds made of straw. Dreams made of errands. Blankets made of patience. The empire was large, but sleep was locally governed, each pillow a province. Each lamp a small sun retired with honors. When you lie down next, imagine the city's watchman counting, the baker's oven listening, the fountain practicing the same 4 lines, the child's sandals pointed at morning. Imagine your own room joining that quiet union. Your bed remembers you. Your breath is fluent in this language. First sleep, island. Second sleep, dawn. Again. And again. And kindly so, picking up the thread, we return where the blanket still remembers its fold. Where the lamp cap rests like a tiny helmet. where last night's breath has left the room more patient than before. The bed accepts us again without paperwork, materials. Modest and exact, mattress fillings vary with place and purse, straw from threshing floors. Chaff soft as a rumour. Wool carded into clouds. Feathers that argue less the longer they serve. Even dried reeds in marsh towns that sigh like very gentle rain. What matters is not luxury but evenness, no ridge under the hip. No hollow that traps a shoulder. A good mattress is a good sentence, it carries you without calling attention to itself. Frames and ropes. Bed frames get tightened the way friendships do, regularly and without spectacle. Hemp ropes cross into a web, knots are corrected with a quiet tug. A wedge is tapped home. Wood speaks one dry syllable. Then goes back to work. Tonight. The frame won't interrupt the dream. Curtains and privacy. Privacy is a gradient, not a wall. A curtain hung on a cord draws a small country around a bed. It slows drafts. Softens light. Invites whispers to lower their ambitions. Embroidered borders are not for show at night, they are for fingers that need a path back to sleep. Street-level rooms and upper floors. Ground floors sleep closer to vendors and watchmen, more footsteps. More carts finishing late. Upper stories sleep nearer to rooftops and the shallow traffic of stars. Neither is superior, each teaches the ear a different alphabet. Over time, both become lullabies. The lamp's little toolkit. On the table, a pick for the wick. A cap for the flame. A small dish to catch a careless drop. A rag that knows when to be brave. Oil is poured with two hands, one to lift, one to steady. Spilled oil is like unkind speech, hard to take back, so people learn to pour as if they were already calm. Companions, quiet talk. Some couples talk a little before sleep. Not to solve but to set down. The day reduced to nouns, bread, market, neighbor, letter, and a few merciful verbs, came, went, mended, tried. Then the verbs stop. The nouns lie still. And grammar yields to breath. Country cellars and winter beds, under a farmhouse. The cellar keeps turnips and the cold. Above, beds receive more blankets, layered with small shifts so seams don't stack. A heated brick wrapped in cloth makes a travelling sun that stops at the feet and shines inward. Frost writes delicate notes on the window and forgets to be cruel. Summer roofs offer sleep to those who caught breezes. A mat. A folded cloak. Sandals as a pillow guard. The city is a low murmur, the sky is an open amphora of dark. Someone points out a star and names it incorrectly, no damage is done. Night forgives astronomy performed drowsily. Inland rivers, river towns dream of water's grammar, pull, slack, glide. Ferries that rope mark time with a sound like thread through fabric. People who hear it in their sleep wake mended. Province by province, in Egypt. Night smells of damp clay and palms. In Hispania, pine resins keep company with hearths. In Asia Minor, fig leaves and stone share custody of coolness. In the Alps, sleep is heavy with wool and agreement. Everywhere, doors learn the same polite closing. The shopkeeper's half room, a shop's back room doubles as a nest, counting table by day, bed by night. Ledger closed. Lamp lowered. A hand rests on the box where small coins nap. The hand is not guarding, it is simply remembering. Sleep arrives like a receipt stamped paid in full for the hours behind. The laurel of small rituals. Habit crowns the night. A pinch of incense at the shelf of household gods. A crumb offered. A word you could speak even when very old. Not bargaining. Just gratitude shaped into emotion. Motions are excellent pillows. Guests and hospitality. A guest bed can be a pallet as honest as bread. Hosts apologize for what needs no apology and then find an extra blanket anyway. The guest studies the room's language, where the jug waits, where the latch chooses to click, and becomes fluent enough to sleep in a single lesson. Sickness, quiet, and the lamp. During illness, the lamp attends night school. It learns to shine without scolding. To be lit at odd hours. to tolerate being asked the same favor many times. The patient sleeps between a broth's soft promises. Dreams wander. The body works. The bed keeps excellent records. Infants and swaddles. Infants are wrapped in logic, arms gentled, legs given a vote. Blanket pinned by a trick that grandparents teach without words. A thin bell of clay might hang near the cradle to chime if a draught grows too bold. The bell rarely rings. Parents sleep in parentheses. Naps around commas. Dogs, geese, and cats. Dogs pledge loyalty to thresholds and rugs. Geese pledge noise to the moon and then honor the pledge when no one asked them. Cats sign no pledge and yet keep their patrols. The house sleeps through this governance. It is, on the whole, effective. The baker's bed, he lies down at strange hours. Body full of flowers, dry benevolence. A nap before the night shift. Another afterward. Both honest. He keeps a cloth by the bed not for spills but for comfort. The feeling of clean fabric in the hand is its own gentle treaty. Festivals and wreaths off duty. After feast days, wreaths rest on door pegs. Petals drowsy. Laughter that once hopped from step to step now dozes in courtyards. Feet remember dances, then forget gracefully. Sleep loves the day after joy. It inherits fatigue without inheriting noise. The watch between sleeps, new errands. In the middle hour, a person might check a pot, add a log, step outside to listen for weather. A neighbor seen under a faint sky is a rumor of a friend. Both nod. Neither speaks. Both return to beds that hold their places as if warmed in advance. Night reading. Night not reading. A few eyes read under bronze lamplight. But more decide to read the feel of the pillow instead. Pages curl, lids concur. The brain's ink dries politely till morning. Money and security. Coins under a tile. A purse beneath the head. A ring looped on a string over the bedpost. Measures that work mostly by calming the mind. A calmed mind spends less oil. Borders of sleep. Between waking and sleeping are border posts manned by slow, kind officials. They ask simple questions. Are you warm? Have you water? Is your blanket where you want it? You nod. They stamp your passport. You pass. The soldier's cloak. A soldier's sagum is both weather and wall. He folds it so one edge fits the neck like a promise. He sleeps with boots listening near the bed. His dreams are punctual and mostly about shade. Coins of light. When oil thins, lamplight becomes coin-sized. People hoard the last minutes, then spend them all at once with a pinch and a curl of smoke. Dark returns like a friend who never knocks because it lives there too. When homes move, travel makes beds temporary and teaches gratitude. A cloak can be a mattress with opinions. A saddlebag can pretend to be a pillow and succeed well enough. Sleep has low standards and high rewards when treated civilly. Weather and the second sleep. Rain improves second sleeps. Wind negotiates. Thunder is a guest narrator who forgets when to leave and then remembers. In still nights, the second sleep relies on linen's cool arithmetic. 2 folds plus 1 breath equals surrender. Repairs promised to morning. A hinge. A loose tile. A thread. Each writes a note to morning on the inside of the eye. Morning reads and obliges. Night is a good secretary. It does not gossip about your to-do list. Elders expert ways. Elders are connoisseurs of pillows. They shape a hollow just wide enough for the ear and no bigger. They teach blankets to stay by weight alone. They wake without alarm because the body's bell has tenure. Waking that doesn't break. Morning can be kind. It unbuttons the dark without tearing it. A shutter opens the width of a coin. Then a hand. The first voice you hear is your own. Saying nothing. Which is perfect. Making the bed. Setting the day. Shake. Smooth. Fold. Thank. The sequence is short and taller than it looks. A made bed is a ladder laid flat. You don't climb it. But later you discover you are already on the roof. Markets. Stables. Ovens. The city lifts itself with the quiet machinery of trade. A stall unfolds. A stable coughs hay dust. An oven inhales. The night acknowledges the handover and retires with its usual professionalism, the rule of enough, enough oil, enough water, enough wool, enough goodwill. The empire measured many things, households measured enough. Sleep is a citizen of that small republic, the door on its hinge. A door opens truly when sleep has done its work. Feet find sandals. Eyes find light. The day presents its errands respectfully. The bed, left behind, becomes a promise ahead. Closing this turn of the wheel, we have wandered among frames and ropes, roofs and rivers, guests and guardians, infants and elders, rains and festivals. Each detail was small on purpose. Small things cooperate with sleep, great things insist on speeches. Tonight, choose the small. When you return to your bed, straw, wool, feather, reed, bring a little law of quiet with you, pour slowly, tuck kindly, count breaths instead of problems. Let lamps retire with honors. If you wake, visit the island between sleeps and step back on board when ready. If you dream, host the visitor and show it out politely. Morning will find you either way. Good night. Once more.